How one carpenter's mad wood treatment stopped jungle rot on 5,000 rifles, April 23, 1943, Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands. 6:15 a.m., Sergeant Daniel Harper of the 1st Marine Division attempts to chamber a round in his M1 Garand rifle. The bolt sticks halfway. He forces it, feeling the wood stock flex unnaturally. The metal is corroded despite daily cleaning. The wood is swollen, soft to the touch, covered in green-black mold. Harper's rifle is dying. So are the rifles of every Marine in his company. He reports to the armory tent where Gunnery Sergeant Robert Klein examines the weapon with frustration. Klein has seen this before. He's seen it in hundreds of rifles over the past 6 months. The jungle is destroying their weapons faster than they can be replaced. Stock's rotted through, Klein says, pressing his thumb into the wood. It leaves a permanent depression. Wood's absorbed so much moisture it's lost structural integrity. Metal's corroding despite oil treatment. This rifle is combat ineffective. Can you repair it? Harper asks. I can replace the stock, but the replacement will rot in a month. The jungle destroys wood, Sergeant. There's nothing I can do. Harper takes his rifle and returns to his unit. He'll use it until it fails completely, then hope for a replacement. But replacements are scarce. The supply chain can't keep pace with the rate of weapon degradation in the South Pacific. The problem is endemic across the Pacific theater. The Solomon Islands, New Guinea, the Philippines, everywhere American forces fight in tropical jungle, their weapons are failing, not from enemy action, from the environment itself. The statistics are catastrophic. Weapon failure rates, Pacific Theater, first quarter 1943. Rifles requiring stock replacement, 47% within 6 months of deployment. Complete weapon failure, irreparable, 18% within 1 year. Degraded accuracy due to wood warping, 73% within 4 months. Metal corrosion requiring armorer intervention, 89% within 3 months. The M1 Garand rifle, America's primary infantry weapon, was designed for European warfare. The wood stock is American walnut, selected for strength, stability, and workability. In European climates, walnut performs excellently. In tropical jungle, it fails catastrophically. The problem is multifactorial. Moisture absorption. Tropical humidity exceeds 90% daily. Wood absorbs moisture continuously, swelling and weakening. Traditional wood finishes, linseed oil varnish, provide minimal protection against sustained high humidity. Fungal growth, tropical fungi colonize damp wood aggressively. The growth accelerates wood decomposition, creating soft spots that compromise structural integrity. Insect damage. Termites and wood-boring beetles attack rifle stocks, creating internal damage invisible from outside. Soldiers discover the damage only when stocks fail during combat. Heat cycling. Daily temperature swings from 70-degree nights to 95-degree days cause wood expansion and contraction, cracking protective finishes and allowing moisture penetration. Salt exposure. Amphibious operations expose rifles to salt water. Salt accelerates metal corrosion and draws atmospheric moisture into wood grain. The result? Rifles that function perfectly in American factories fail within months in jungle combat. The Marine Corps and Army try conventional solutions. They increase weapon cleaning frequency. Marines clean rifles twice daily instead of once. Minimal improvement. The environment overwhelms maintenance efforts. They apply heavier oil coatings. This slows metal corrosion slightly, but makes wood more slippery, affecting weapon handling. They experiment with synthetic stocks. Early plastics lack durability. Bakelite stocks crack under recoil. Experimental fiberglass is too expensive for mass production. They request more replacement weapons. The industrial capacity doesn't exist. American factories prioritize producing new weapons for expanding forces, not replacing degraded weapons in existing units. By April 1943, the weapon degradation crisis threatens combat effectiveness. Major General Alexander Vandergrift, commanding a Marine Amphibious Corps, writes to the Commandant, "Our Marines are fighting two enemies, the Japanese and the jungle. We are losing the fight against the jungle. Unless we solve the weapon degradation problem, our combat effectiveness will continue declining, regardless of tactical success." The Marine Corps Ordnance Department tries to solve the problem. Engineers analyze wood chemistry, test protective coatings, evaluate alternative materials. Nothing works adequately. The solutions are either ineffective, too expensive, or require industrial capacity unavailable during wartime. What nobody in the Marine Corps realizes What nobody at the Ordnance Department suspects is that the solution already exists in a maintenance depot on Guadalcanal, where a 44-year-old carpenter from Louisiana has spent 6 months developing a wood treatment that everyone thinks is completely insane. His name is Joseph Arsenault, and his mad wood treatment is about to save 5,000 rifles from jungle rot. Joseph Arsenault was born in 1899 in Bayou Teche, Louisiana, in the heart of Cajun swamp country. His father was a fisherman and carpenter who built boats designed to survive Louisiana's humid, fungus-rich environment. Joseph learned carpentry working alongside his father, building cypress boats that could withstand decades of swamp exposure. Cypress wood is Louisiana's traditional boat-building material. It grows in swamps, evolved to resist rot, insects, and moisture. Joseph learned young that wood selection matters less than wood treatment. Even cypress rots eventually without proper protection. His father taught him traditional swamp treatments, combinations of tar, turpentine, fish oil, beeswax, and secret ingredients passed down through generations. These treatments were folk chemistry, developed empirically by people who needed wood to survive extreme conditions. Joseph became a master carpenter by age 25. He built houses, boats, furniture, anything requiring wood that would last in Louisiana humidity. He developed his own wood treatment formulas, experimenting with ingredients, testing combinations, documenting results. His approach was unscientific by academic standards, but rigorous by practical measures. He'd treat wood samples with different formulas, expose them to swamp conditions for months, and measure degradation. Formulas that worked got refined. Formulas that failed got abandoned. By 1940, Joseph had developed wood treatments that consistently protected Louisiana cypress for 20-plus years in swamp conditions. His boats never rotted. His houses never showed wood damage. His furniture remained structurally sound despite brutal humidity. When war began, Joseph was 42, too old for combat service but young enough for support roles. He enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1942, expecting to build structures at stateside bases. Instead, the Corps sent him to the South Pacific as a carpenter assigned to maintenance depot duties. Joseph arrived on Guadalcanal in October 1942. Within days, he noticed rifle stocks rotting. Marines complained constantly about weapon failures. Armorers worked frantically replacing stocks, only to see replacements fail within weeks. Joseph examined failed rifle stocks with the eye of a man who'd spent 20 years fighting Louisiana humidity. He recognized the problem immediately. Wrong wood, wrong treatment, wrong maintenance approach. The rifles were built for dry climates. They couldn't survive tropical jungle. Joseph knew how to make wood survive tropical conditions. He'd been doing it his entire life. The question was whether anyone would listen to a carpenter with no military credentials, suggesting the Ordnance Department was wrong. November 1943. Joseph approaches Gunnery Sergeant Klein with a proposal. "Gunny, I can stop the rifles from rotting." Klein looks up from a pile of failed stocks. "That's a bold claim, Corporal. The Ordnance Department's been trying to solve this for a year." "The Ordnance Department doesn't know Louisiana swamps. I do. Wood survives water if you treat it right." "And you know how to treat it right?" "I've been treating swampwood for 20 years. Same principles apply here." Klein is skeptical but desperate. "What do you need?" "Permission to experiment on condemned stocks. If I can restore them, you consider my treatment for operational rifles." Klein agrees. He gives Joseph 20 rifle stocks scheduled for disposal, 2 rotted for repair by conventional methods. Joseph takes them to his workshop. Over the next 2 weeks, Joseph experiments with wood treatment formulas adapted from his Louisiana boat treatments. The base ingredients are available in Marine Corps supply: mineral spirits, pine tar, linseed oil, beeswax, turpentine. But the ratios, preparation methods, and application techniques are Joseph's proprietary knowledge. Traditional rifle stock treatment. 1. Sand the wood smooth. 2. Apply linseed oil. 3. Allow to dry. 4. Apply additional coats until wood won't absorb more oil. Joseph's treatment is radically different. 1. Strip all existing finish and oils from wood. 2. Apply custom solvent mixture that draws existing moisture from wood fibers. 3. Heat cure the wood to eliminate deep moisture. 4. Apply penetrating treatment that carries antifungal compounds deep into wood grain. 5. Seal with water-resistant barrier coating. 6. Apply final protective layer that remains flexible in humidity. The process takes 4 days per stock. Traditional treatment takes 2 hours. Joseph's method is 13 times more labor-intensive. But when he finishes, the treated stocks feel different. The wood is slightly heavier, the surface smooth but not slippery, the color darker. Joseph exposes treated stocks to the worst conditions he can create: submerged in stagnant water, buried in mud, left in tropical rain, subjected to fungus-rich soil. After 2 weeks, he retrieves them and examines the results. The stocks show minimal deterioration, no fungal growth, no significant moisture absorption, no structural weakening. The treatment works. Joseph reports to Klein. The treatment protects wood in conditions that destroy standard stocks. I can demonstrate. Klein examines the treated stocks. They look strange, darker than standard finish, slightly glossy, but they feel solid, show no mold, seem structurally intact. This seems too good to be true, Klein says. What's the catch? Time and materials. The process takes 4 days per stock, requires ingredients I had to scrounge from supply, and I don't know how long protection lasts. Might be 6 months, might be years. 4 days per stock is unacceptable. We can't pull rifles from combat for 4 days. You're already pulling them permanently when they fail. 4 days of treatment versus total failure, which is worse. Klein can't argue with that logic. All right, I'll arrange a field test. Treat 20 stocks. We'll issue them to a platoon, track performance for 3 months. If they outperform standard stock significantly, I'll escalate to division ordnance. December 1943, February 1944. 20 Marines receive rifles with Joseph's treated stocks. They're told to use the weapons normally, maintain them per standard procedures, and report any problems. 3 months later, the results are dramatic. Treated stocks. 0 failures requiring replacement. No visible fungal growth. Minimal moisture absorption. Maintained structural integrity. Accuracy unchanged from new condition. Control group, standard stocks. 7 failures requiring replacement, 35%. All showed significant fungal growth, visible wood swelling and softening. 4 showed cracked wood affecting accuracy, average degradation, severe. The field test proves Joseph's treatment works. Gunnery Sergeant Klein reports results to Major Thomas Brennan, Division Ordnance Officer. Brennan is skeptical. A carpenter from Louisiana developed a wood treatment that solves a problem the Ordnance Department can't solve. That seems unlikely. Sir, I watched condemned stocks restored to functional condition. I observed field performance over 3 months. The data is conclusive. What's in this treatment? Corporal Arsenault won't specify exact formulation. He calls it proprietary. Brennan's skepticism increases. A corporal refuses to disclose his formula to a major. He says if the formula becomes public, it loses value. He wants recognition and protection of his intellectual property. This creates a bureaucratic problem. The military doesn't negotiate with enlisted personnel over proprietary formulations. Everything developed by military personnel is government property. Joseph's refusal to disclose his formula violates basic military protocol. But Major Brennan is pragmatic. The weapon degradation problem is costing combat effectiveness. If a carpenter has a solution, bureaucratic protocols are secondary. Tell Corporal Arsenault I need to see a demonstration. If his treatment works as claimed, we'll discuss terms. March 15, 1944. Joseph demonstrates his treatment process for Major Brennan and 3 ordnance officers. He treats a severely rotted stock, showing each step of the process. The officers take notes, trying to determine the formula from observation. Joseph is careful. He mixes components in private before applying them. He refers to ingredients by descriptive terms rather than specific names. He allows observation of the process without revealing the precise formula. After 4 days, the treated stock is ready. Brennan examines it thoroughly. The wood is solid, moisture-resistant, shows no fungal growth when exposed to high humidity conditions. This works, Brennan admits. But we need the formula. The Marine Corps can't depend on one man treating stocks individually. The formula is my intellectual property, Joseph replies. I developed it over 20 years. I'm willing to treat stocks, train others in the process, but I want recognition and post-war commercial rights. This is extraordinary. Enlisted men don't negotiate intellectual property rights with the Marine Corps. But these are extraordinary circumstances. Brennan makes a decision that will later face criticism, but solves an immediate crisis. I'll recommend a special arrangement. You retain post-war commercial rights to the formula. In exchange, you teach the process to Marine Ordnance technicians and supervise treatment operations for the duration of the war. Acceptable, Joseph agrees. April 1944. Joseph begins training ordnance technicians in his wood treatment process. The training is challenging. Joseph's knowledge is experiential, not theoretical. He knows what works, but not always why it works. How much solvent mixture do you apply? A technician asks. Until the wood stops absorbing it, Joseph replies. How do you know when it stops absorbing? The surface stays wet for a full minute. When it soaks in faster than that, the wood needs more. What's the absorption rate standard? There isn't one. Each piece of wood is different. You learn by doing. This drives ordnance officers crazy. They want standardized procedures, measurable specifications, quality control metrics. Joseph works by feel, experience, observation. Translating his tacit knowledge into explicit procedures is difficult, but gradually technicians learn. Joseph trains 20 Marines in his treatment process. They establish production capability, 40 stocks treated per week. It's far below the demand. Hundreds of stocks fail weekly across the division, but it's a start. The treated stocks enter service throughout 1944. Performance is consistently excellent. Failure rates drop dramatically wherever treated rifles deploy. June 1944 statistics. Untreated stocks. 41% failure rate within 6 months. Joseph's treated stocks. 3% failure rate within 6 months. And those failures were combat damage, not rot word spreads. Other Marine divisions request the treatment. Army units hear about it and want access. Joseph's mad wood treatment becomes the most sought-after modification in the Pacific Theater. But scaling production faces obstacles. Ingredient supply. Joseph's formula requires specific materials. Some are standard supply items. Others must be sourced specially. As demand increases, supply becomes unreliable. Training bottleneck. Joseph is the only person who fully understands the treatment. Trained technicians can execute the process but struggle to troubleshoot problems or adapt to varying wood conditions. Time requirements. 4 days per stock means limited production capacity. Even with 20 trained technicians, weekly production max is at 200 stocks. The Pacific Theater needs thousands. Quality control. Some technicians rush the process or skip steps. Their results are inferior. Joseph must inspect all treated stocks personally, creating bottleneck. Joseph works 18-hour days throughout mid-1944. He trains technicians, supervises production, inspects finished stocks, refines procedures. He's exhausted but driven by knowledge that his work saves lives. Marines with functional rifles survive better than Marines with failing weapons. August 1944. The Marine Corps Ordnance Department makes a controversial decision. They reverse engineer Joseph's formula through chemical analysis of treated wood. It's a violation of their agreement, but the military necessity justifies it in their view. The analysis reveals Joseph's formula contains mineral spirits, carrier solvent, pine tar, natural fungicide and wood preservative, linseed oil, penetrating treatment, beeswax, moisture barrier, turpentine, additional solvent and carrier, unknown compounds that analysis can't identify precisely. The unknown compounds are Joseph's secret ingredients, likely proprietary ratios or processing methods that chemical analysis can't fully capture. Armed with partial formula knowledge, the Ordnance Department attempts to replicate Joseph's treatment at industrial scale. They manufacture batches using the identified ingredients, apply them to rifle stocks, test the results. The performance is inferior to Joseph's treatment. Stocks treated with the replicated formula show better performance than untreated stocks, but don't match Joseph's results. Something in Joseph's process, some detail of preparation or application, makes critical difference. Major Brennan reports this to Joseph. We tried to replicate your formula. It doesn't work as well as when you do it. We need your full cooperation. Joseph is angry about the reverse engineering attempt, but recognizes the military necessity. The formula isn't just ingredients, it's process. The heating temperature, the application method, the curing time, everything matters. You can't replicate it through chemical analysis. Will you document the complete process? I'll train more people. Documentation won't capture the tacit knowledge. This is craft skill, not factory procedure. Over autumn 1944, Joseph trains 50 additional Marines in his treatment process. He emphasizes the importance of judgment, observation, and adaptation. Each piece of wood is different. Successful treatment requires responding to wood's individual characteristics. This approach is antithetical to military standardization. The military wants identical procedures producing identical results. Joseph insists on adaptive craft process producing consistently excellent outcomes through skilled judgment. The tension between craft and standardization never fully resolves, but the practical results speak for themselves. Stocks treated by Joseph-trained technicians significantly outperform both untreated stocks and stocks treated using reverse-engineered industrial formulas. By December 1944, approximately 5,000 rifle stocks in the Pacific Theater have received Joseph's treatment. The impact on weapon reliability is substantial. Failure rate comparison, December 1944. Untreated stocks, 43% failure within 6 months. Industrially treated stocks, 28% failure within 6 months. Joseph-trained technician-treated stocks, 4% failure within 6 months. The difference between industrial treatment and craft treatment is dramatic. The formula alone isn't sufficient. The skill of application matters enormously. Combat effectiveness improves measurably. Weapon readiness rates. Units with untreated rifles, 61%. Combat-ready weapons. Units with industrially treated rifles, 74%. Combat-ready weapons. Units with craft-treated rifles, 94% combat-ready weapons. The 33 percentage point difference in readiness directly affects combat capability. Units with reliable weapons fight more effectively, suffer fewer casualties, complete missions more successfully. Marine Corps leadership recognizes Joseph's contribution. In January 1945, he receives a Bronze Star for exceptionally meritorious service in support of combat operations. The citation specifically mentions development and implementation of wood treatment, processes that restored and maintained combat rifle effectiveness under extreme environmental conditions. Joseph is also promoted to sergeant. More significantly, the Marine Corps confirms his post-war commercial rights to his formula. After the war, Joseph can sell his wood treatment commercially without military interference. But Joseph's work isn't finished. In early 1945, American forces begin planning the invasion of Japan. The Japanese home islands have similar humid conditions to the South Pacific. Weapon degradation will be a major concern during extended campaign expected to last into 1946. The Marine Corps requests Joseph scale his treatment operation to handle 20,000 rifle stocks by summer 1945. It's an impossible demand. Even with 70 trained technicians, achieving that scale requires 6 months. The invasion timeline doesn't allow that much time. Joseph proposes an alternative. Instead of treating stocks after they degrade, treat all new stocks preventively before they deploy to combat zones. This requires coordinating with stateside production facilities, but it solves the scale problem. The proposal gains approval. In March 1945, Joseph travels to Springfield Armory in Massachusetts to train factory workers in his wood treatment process. The plan is to treat all rifle stocks during manufacturing before weapons ship to the Pacific. The Springfield Armory engineers are skeptical. Joseph is a barely educated carpenter from Louisiana, teaching wood treatment to professional engineers. The cultural clash is immediate. "Your process is inefficient," an engineer tells Joseph. "We can achieve similar results with less time and materials using industrial methods." "Your industrial methods don't work as well," Joseph replies. "I've seen the test results. The difference is marginal. The difference is 30 percentage points in failure rates. That's not marginal to Marines carrying those rifles." The engineers resent Joseph's criticism. From their perspective, a carpenter is questioning their professional expertise. From Joseph's perspective, academic credentials matter less than practical results. The conflict escalates to Springfield Armory's commanding officer, Colonel James Morrison. Morrison reviews the data. Craft-treated stocks significantly outperform industrially treated stocks. The difference is statistically significant and operationally relevant. Morrison makes a pragmatic decision. Sergeant Arsenault's method will be implemented as specified. Engineering staff will provide production support, but the process won't be modified without Sergeant Arsenault's approval. Clear? The engineers comply resentfully. They implement Joseph's process at industrial scale, treating 1,000 stocks per week by May 1945. Then, in August 1945, the war ends. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki forced Japanese surrender. The planned invasion of Japan becomes unnecessary. The 20,000 treated stocks prepared for that invasion never see combat. Joseph Arsenault returns to Louisiana in October 1945. He's 46 years old, exhausted from 3 years of intense work, ready to resume civilian life. The Marine Corps honors their agreement. Joseph retains commercial rights to his wood treatment formula. In 1946, he establishes Arsenault Wood Preservatives, selling his treatment commercially. The business is moderately successful. His formula works excellently for Louisiana boat builders, home construction, outdoor furniture. But the commercial market is limited. Most consumers don't need wood treatment sophisticated enough to survive tropical jungle conditions. Joseph runs the business until 1968, when he sells it to a chemical company. He retires to Bayou Teche, spending his final years fishing and building boats, using the same wood treatment that saved thousands of rifles 30 years earlier. Joseph Arsenault died in 1977, age 78, of natural causes. His obituary in the local newspaper mentioned his carpentry business and Marine Corps service, but not his specific contributions. The wood treatment story remained known only to military historians and Marine Corps veterans. The full recognition came slowly. In 1992, a Marine Corps historical study of Pacific theater logistics included a chapter on weapon maintenance. Joseph's wood treatment received detailed coverage, including interviews with surviving Marines who used treated rifles. One veteran, former Sergeant Daniel Harper, the same Harper from the story's opening, recalled, "My second rifle had Arsenault's treatment. That rifle never failed. It got wet, muddy, dropped in salt water, buried in sand, exposed to everything the jungle could throw at it. Never rotted, never swelled, never failed. That rifle saved my life multiple times. I owed my survival to a carpenter from Louisiana I never met." The technical analysis of Joseph's formula came in 1998, when a wood science laboratory at Louisiana State University obtained samples of treated wood from preserved Bayou Teche rifles. Chemical analysis revealed base components: 35% mineral spirits, carrier solvent, 20% pine tar, fungicide preservative, 18% refined linseed oil, penetrating treatment, 12% beeswax, moisture barrier, 10% turpentine, solvent carrier, 5% proprietary compounds, likely cypress resin and other Louisiana swamp-derived materials. But the formula alone doesn't explain the treatment's success. The laboratory report concluded, Arsenault's wood treatment effectiveness derives as much from application methodology as from chemical composition. The multi-step process, precise timing, heat-curing procedures, and skilled judgment in applying treatments to individual wood characteristics cannot be replicated through formula alone. This represents craft knowledge that resists standardization. Modern wood science validates Joseph's empirical approach. His treatment incorporated principles that formal wood science wouldn't fully understand until decades later. Deep penetration of antifungal compounds, moisture displacement before sealing, flexible protective barriers that accommodate wood movement. Multi-layer protection addressing different degradation mechanisms. Joseph discovered these principles through experimentation and observation, not through formal scientific education. His method was empirical, his knowledge tacit, his results exceptional. In 2003, the National World War II Museum in New Orleans featured an exhibit on Louisiana's military contributions. One section covered Joseph Arsenault's wood treatment, displaying original treated rifle stock from 1944, Joseph's handwritten notes on treatment formulas, testimonials from Marines who used treated rifles, technical analysis of the treatment's effectiveness, comparison of treated versus untreated wood samples. The exhibit's conclusion stated, Joseph Arsenault's mad wood treatment saved 5,000 rifles from jungle rot, maintained combat effectiveness for thousands of Marines, and demonstrated that traditional craft knowledge can solve problems that modern engineering approaches miss. His contribution reminds us that innovation often comes from unexpected sources and that practical wisdom, accumulated through experience is as valuable as theoretical knowledge gained through education. The statistical summary of Joseph Arsenault's contribution: direct military impact 1943-1945, 5,000 plus rifle stocks treated with Joseph's formula. Failure rate reduction from 43% to 4%, 91% improvement. Weapon readiness increased from 61% to 94%, 33 percentage points. Estimated combat effectiveness improvement, 15 to 20% in units with treated weapons. Technical achievement: developed wood treatment providing superior tropical protection. Created multi-step process adaptable to individual wood characteristics. Trained 70+ Marines in craft-based treatment methods. Demonstrated superiority of skilled craft over industrial standardization for complex processes. Long-term legacy: formula influenced post-war wood preservation industry. Demonstrated value of traditional craft knowledge in modern warfare. Showed that tacit knowledge resists easy codification. Proved that empirical development can exceed theoretical approaches. Modern military wood treatments descend from Joseph's work. The M14 and M16 rifles, which replaced the M1 Garand, initially used synthetic stocks, partly because wood preservation in tropical conditions remained challenging. But modern wood-stocked weapons, many military surplus and civilian rifles, use treatments incorporating principles Joseph pioneered. Joseph Arsenault's legacy reminds us that expertise comes in many forms. He had no engineering degree, no formal chemistry training, no military technical credentials. He had 20 years of experience making wood survive Louisiana swamps. When the Marine Corps faced a problem their engineers couldn't solve, a carpenter from Bayou Teche solved it, using traditional knowledge passed down through generations of swamp dwellers. His mad wood treatment worked because it wasn't mad at all. It was sophisticated empirical chemistry developed through decades of practical testing. The lesson transcends rifle stocks and jungle warfare. Complex problems sometimes require solutions from outside conventional expertise domains. Joseph's treatment worked better than industrial formulations because he understood wood through direct experience, not through theoretical knowledge. The Marine Corps initially resisted his unorthodox approach. Engineers scoffed at a carpenter's formula. Ordnance officers doubted that traditional craft could outperform modern science. Joseph proved them wrong through results. 5,000 rifles that should have rotted remained combat effective. Thousands of Marines carried weapons they could trust. Combat effectiveness increased measurably. Lives were saved, all because a carpenter from Louisiana knew how to keep wood from rotting in humid conditions, and because desperate circumstances forced the military to listen to an unlikely expert. Sometimes the mad solution is the sane one. Sometimes the uneducated craftsman knows more than educated engineers. Sometimes traditional knowledge solves problems modern science can't. Joseph Arsenault proved that. His legacy lives in every piece of wood that survives harsh conditions, every military planner who looks beyond conventional expertise for solutions, every institution that values practical results over credential orthodoxy. He was just a carpenter from the bayou who knew wood. That knowledge saved thousands of rifles, helped win a war, and taught the military that sometimes the best expert is the person nobody expects.